What if everything you knew was wrong? The history you were taught, the science you were told to trust, the politics you see unfolding, the psychology that shapes your mind, even the theology that guides your soul. What if none of it is as simple as it seems? Every great story has secrets. Every fact has shadows. And every truth has another side waiting to be uncovered. Here, nothing is sacred. Nothing is off-limit. We dive into conspiracies, hidden histories, and unanswered questions that most people are too afraid to ask. I'll present the theory. You will decide. Argue it, break it, expand it, or prove it wrong. Because theories don't live in silence. They thrive in debate. Welcome to Let's Theorize.
Let's theorize. Did Judeo-sexual perversion create the sexual revolution and LGBTQ?
The Serpent's Whisper and the Shattered Garden, a tale of America's fall. In the dawn of a young America, the land bloomed like Eden reborn, a garden of rolling hills and clear rivers, where families stood as sturdy oaks under God's blueprint of man and woman, bound by covenant love. Children laughed in fields of innocence, their hearts unshadowed by forbidden fruit. The air hummed with hymns, and moral waters ran deep, carving paths of fidelity and restraint through the nation's soul. But beneath the earth, a hidden current stirred, a whispering stream from ancient Babylonia, where the Talmud scrolls, unlike the Bible's firm binary of male and female, wove tales of 8 fluid forms, androgynous with mingled traits, tum cloaked in ambiguity, and others cradled in law's embrace. This Judeo-sexual perversion, birthed in the Talmud and fanned into flame in Berlin, the 1920s capital of such ideas, where Magnus Hirschfeld's Institute for Sexual Research peddled gender fluidity, carried a subtle poison, loosening the creator's lines. It either exalted transgenderism, urging women to forsake their God-given femininity and become men in body and spirit, or it lured them to sell their sacred forms for coin, commodifying the temple of the soul into a marketplace of flesh. By the Roaring Twenties, this serpent seed had taken root in America's soil, its decay already blooming. Women, once visions of elegance in the 1910s, with flowing gowns and feminine grace, transformed into flapper rebels, chopping their tresses into defiant bobs, binding their curves to mimic boyish frames, and dancing in beaded shifts that mocked God's hourglass design. In jazz-lit speakeasies, the air thickened with cigarette smoke and blurred boundaries as Berlin's decadent whispers, its cabarets alive with cross-dressed performers and Hirschfeld's tomes on sexual science, echoed in Vogue's pages and Hollywood's reels, seeding a cultural rot that turned feminine beauty into androgynous defiance. Into this garden slithered Sigmund Freud, a Viennese serpent with eyes of polished obsidian, born in 1856 to a wool merchant's hearth in a Jewish family steeped in the Talmud's ancient echoes. His mind, laced with cocaine's fire, caught Berlin's current of Judeo-sexual perversion, not in sacred study, but in the cultural air of his Jewish roots and Vienna's proximity to that decadent hub. From smoky cafes to his cluttered study, Freud spun a venomous gospel. Sexuality wasn't a sacred flame, but a primal flood, coursing through infants' veins, twisting every dream and deed into lust's tangled web. His 3 essays, 1905, declared babies sexual, their oral and anal urges normal. His Oedipus complex cast fathers as foes and mothers as forbidden fruit. Repression, he hissed, was the root of all sickness, indulgence the cure. Worst of all, this polymorphous perversity, positing children as innate sexual beings from cradle to grave, whispered a dark permission to the shadows, framing pedophilic gazes not as monstrous sins, but as echoes of natural development, a theoretical veil that cloaked predators in pseudoscience. Berlin's libraries, brimming with Hirschfeld's books and Freud's own, became the arsenal of this ideology. In 1933, when Germans burned those tomes, texts pushing gender fluidity and sexual permissiveness, they weren't torching knowledge, but purging what they saw as a moral plague. Yet the world recoiled, branding such acts fascist, a label that stuck to conservatives and Christians, who even now fight to ban inappropriate books targeting kids, books echoing that same Judeo-sexual perversion. They're called fascists not for hate, but for guarding the garden's gates against ideas that blur God's design. When Freud fled the Nazis in 1938, his venom crossed the Atlantic, a seed sown in America's fertile psyche. By the 1950s, his disciples, analysts, professors, and Hollywood sirens like Marilyn Monroe, born Norma Jean Mortensen, a Jewish convert with Marxist leanings who embodied the sexualized femme fatale, watered it with fervor. Monroe, whose sultry roles in films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, 1953, and Some Like It Hot, 1959, glorified Freudian libido, pushed Judeo-sexual perversion's boundary-blurring ethos through her androgynous allure and public embrace of sexual freedom. Her rumored ties to leftist circles, influenced by Marxist critiques of traditional morality, amplified Freud's gospel, seducing a nation into worshiping desire over duty. Hollywood, that glittering den of mirrors, never once exalted women as feminine pillars of family loyalty, steadfast to husband and hearth, but instead peddled the perversion's dual siren song, transgender masquerades, or the auction of bodies for silver. The 1960s bloomed into a riot of thorns, a sexual revolution where Pandora's couch unleashed libidinous demons dressed as freedom. The garden withered, rivers of morality dried into deserts of dopamine, oaks of family splintered into 23 million fatherless stumps. Hookup vines choked the land, their barbs pricking 80% of women with regret, 25% with despair. Porn shadow, a $1 trillion hydra, coiled around screens, spawning addictions in 8 to 16% of souls, while OnlyFans altars turned women, once queens of hearth, into pixelated prey, 40% plagued by body hate. Youth, lost in a kaleidoscope of 20% rainbow identities, chase BDSM sirens to cliffs of doubled anxiety, STD storms raging unchecked. This perversion's tentacles, rooted in Jewish overrepresentation in the pornography industry, where figures like Al Goldstein boasted of Jewish dominance as a rebellion against Christian norms, extended to modern platforms like OnlyFans, owned by Jewish billionaire Leonid Radvinsky, who pledged $11 million to pro-Israel causes, fueling a digital bazaar where women trade virtue for views. Meanwhile, Jewish involvement in LGBTQ movements, from Reform Judaism's early advocacy for gay rights in 1965 to icons shaping cultural narratives, pushed agendas that blurred binaries, promoting transgenderism while sidelining traditional femininity. Freud's whisper, laced with Berlin's Judeo-sexual perversion and amplified by icons like Monroe, turned Eden's orchard into a briar patch. His theories, libido as Lord, perversions as pauses, therapy as erotic unspooling, wove a net that trapped America's soul. The serpent promised liberation, but delivered dust. 50 million wanderers, parched by broken bonds, their hearts gasping like fish flung from God's stream. Conclusion, the call to reclaim Eden. Yet dawn glimmers on the horizon, a golden crack in the briar patch's gloom. The serpent's whisper, born in Babylonia's scrolls, amplified in Berlin's decadent halls, carried by Freud's venomous pen, and glamorized by Marilyn Monroe's Marxist-tinged siren call, has left America's garden ravaged, its once clear rivers muddied with the dregs of Judeo-sexual perversion. From the 1920s flapper revolt, where women traded elegant gowns for boyish defiance, to today's $1 trillion porn hydra, dominated by Jewish figures, and OnlyFans under Radvinsky's Jewish ownership, alongside LGBTQ agendas advanced by Jewish-led progressive efforts. The decay runs deep. Hollywood's reels forever scorning the faithful wife, the devoted mother, in favor of transgender illusions or the harlot's trade. 50 million souls wander, their hearts parched by broken bonds, their dreams haunted by Freud's lustful ghosts, ghosts that dare to gaze upon the innocent with a theorized normality, pedophilia's shadow creeping longer under the guise of developmental truth. But the garden can bloom again. Christian conservatives, branded fascists for burning Berlin's poisoned tomes in spirit-banning books that peddle this chaos to children, are not destroyers, but gardeners. They wield the spade of God's truth, uprooting the thorns of permissiveness sown by Freud and his Hollywood apostles like Monroe, whose Jewish Marxist lens glorified desire over divine order. The call rings out. Dam the serpent's stream with grace as granite, restore the binary blueprint of man and woman, and let covenant love flourish once more. Will we answer, hands dirty with holy soil, to tend Eden anew, or will we stumble deeper into the briar patch, lost to the serpent's hiss? The fruit awaits, Choose wisely, for the dawn demands courage.